Hey, everybody. Welcome to Living Your Best Life with DENNISH. We have a great topic today, and we want to ask you, please feel free to call in. The number is up on the screen. Today's topic, what happened to loyalty? And I'm going to talk to my gentleman on my right, Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan.
Good afternoon.
And I want to welcome Jamie PK from Texas on the line with us today. Hi, Jamie.
Hello, Anne. Hello, Jonathan. Today is a great day.
Yes, it is. We're going to talk about what happened to loyalty and how to get it back. So I think to start today's show, I want to talk a little bit about, I was in Malibu 4 years ago, finishing up my book, Waking Up. And I was trying to write a story on loyalty, and I asked a bunch of people what it was, and nobody could answer. Nobody could actually answer, and a lot of people got very annoyed with me because it made them think. And I was looking up, the Webster's definition of loyalty, and my take on the whole thing is loyalty is being faithful to your job, your significant other, your friends. And so I want to ask Jamie and Jonathan, what is loyalty to you?
Who's going first, Jamie?
Jonathan, you take the floor.
Wow, thanks.
We're all coughing here today.
So
We are too. I think we've had some weather. But go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry.
so usually I just look at Anne's notes, and that's my cheat sheet that she does for me every week. But this week, I took a moment to look up the definition of loyalty. Probably shouldn't have done that. There's different types of loyalty.
There's a lot.
Right?
I couldn't even pin one actual definition when I looked on the internet as well.
So that's true. There's so many different. There's so many different types of loyalty. So I think this week's topic is an extension of a couple weeks ago when we talked about relationships and loyalty, or relationships. So it's morphed into the loyalty show. So when I looked it up, there's synonyms. Allegiance is one.
Mm-hmm.
Devotion is another. So let's start with devotion. Let's just make it simple, and it's allegiance and devotion. Loyalty is a word that has French origin, and it implies a legal obligation. So if I'm in the Army or I'm a Marine, I have a legal obligation to be loyal to my country.
Right.
As a citizen of the United States, you pledge allegiance to your country. And that doesn't mean the two are mutually exclusive, but loyalty that comes from the heart has a lot more meaning than loyalty that stems from an obligation. And I think I'm just throwing that out there, and you lovely ladies who outnumber me can decide which direction it's going to go.
Well, I think too we're kind of starting. There's like I said, loyalty in the workplace and relationships and friendships. I think starting a little bit with relationships, I pulled a quote off the internet that says, when it comes to relationships, remaining faithful is never an option but a priority. Loyalty is everything. And I believe that because without loyalty, you have no trust. Loss of loyalty to me is a loss of trust. It can go on so many levels. I mean, Jamie, you want to tell us your feelings about that, where loyalty in a relationship and friendships?
Well, excuse me. Yes, chiming in with you, Jonathan, on the variations of loyalty. When you first asked, what is my definition of loyalty? It's showing that faithfulness, that support in a relationship. Whether that relationship, like you said, is with your country, is with your job, is with your loved one, whether it be child, parent, a coworker. I do believe, just like you explained, there are different levels of loyalty. Because at one point or another, throughout our lives, especially when you're teenagers, you have to show who you're loyal to. Are you loyal to that friend or that friend? You loyal to the basketball team tribe that you formed, or loyal to the friend tribe that you've had since kindergarten?
Right.
So loyalty changes, evolves, and has different levels depending on the tribe that you've surrounded yourself with.
I was going to just talk about the tribe too, because, you know, Jamie, you and I talk about keeping the vibe in your tribe so positive all the time. Knowing who's loyal and who isn't is also a big factor. That's where loyalty comes in, because I know you've been on the other side of it. I know Jonathan has, and I have, where you find out that someone you trusted was never loyal to you to begin with. And that's part of, I guess, knowing the truth about the people that you surround yourself with. And I think loyalty is a really big thing, because without it, I don't think there's much to any relationship if there's not loyalty.
Right, and just like you said, I think it comes in with that trust factor.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to, as I'm writing one of my books, one of the key things, or three of the key things, and we talked about this 2 shows ago, that each relationship, every relationship, takes 3 factors, 3 very key components, and each one is intertwined with the other. Communication, trust, respect. And communication and trust is where loyalty falls under.
Right.
Is you have to be honest and trustworthy and communicate that and express that in that relationship. And that's where loyalty lays.
I agree. I absolutely agree. It's an odd thing, loyalty, because no one really talks about it anymore. People might talk about trust issues, insecurity, fear, jealousy. Everybody forgets the big piece, which is loyalty. And even in friendships, I mean, when people couldn't answer me 4 years ago, a simple question, well, you know, they're like, I don't know. It's loyalty. I'm like, but what is it to you? What does it mean? To me, it means you've got my back at all times. You look out for me, and I can trust you with my secrets, with my life, with my heart, and with everything else. That's what loyalty means to me.
And I think that stems more on relationships.
Yeah.
Because when you think about a workplace, how loyal are they to you or you to them depends on production. Now you're in a whole nother ball game about, you know, your performance and another relationship level. And Jonathan, what do you think about that?
So I didn't want to go back down your holy trinity of respect, communication, and trust, but it is important. It is an important and integral part of a display of loyalty. So I guess loyalty, I was trying to figure out, is it a verb, is it a noun, is it an adjective? Well, it's a state, I think, or you display loyalty by your actions, and it really doesn't matter the relationship, because either way, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, the loyalty that you show is the loyalty you're going to get. Now, we haven't gone into blind loyalty, but I think Anne might have something to say about blind loyalty a little later on.
Throw me under the bus, will you?
There you go. You put it out there. So, yeah. So loyalty is your loyalty to your partner. How do you display loyalty to your partner? Loyalty to your partner is probably very simply putting their interests ahead of another's. So if my choice is between my partner, my life partner, and boy, I'll make it difficult. My brother. Who do you choose? Right?
Yeah.
And that could be pretty telling. But when you think about it, when you choose a life partner, you're literally choosing them before everyone else,
Right.
with the exception of maybe yourself. Because that's another thought that kept coming to mind during the past week and the last 24 hours is, well, excuse me, you have to be loyal to yourself to be loyal to someone else. Sacrificing your sense of self doesn't help either one of you. But you need to make a stand. Loyalty is a stand. And you're going to stand by and show loyalty by that decision. Does that make sense?
I like that, Jonathan. I really like that. I like how you said loyalty is a stand. That is exactly what it is, because it gives it a physical essence to an abstract concept.
Sure, it's like faith, maybe.
Loyalty is I think it is a type of faith.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it is.
It's just, I had this conversation. I was talking to Rob, my significant other, this morning, and I said, "So, what do you do when you're loyal?" And I said, to Rob, "Here's a scenario. Suppose your group of really, really good friends. One of them was really nasty to me, treated me very badly. Was rude and with everything else. Where would your loyalty lie? And I'm not going to repeat everything he said, but his loyalty, he said, would be with me." And he would probably...
Good answer.
He said a little more than that. But that's where I wonder with loyalty, with the discussion, okay, his friend did that. Suppose Rob goes and confronts the friend. The friend says, "Well, it's too bad. I don't like her. I don't want her around." And that's the end of that. I said to Rob, "So what happens in that type of loyalty? Do you go hang out with the friends and I stay home? Where's the loyalty with that?" And that's... I guess it's the same with family. You're talking about family. It's the same thing. I mean, how would you handle something like that?
Why can't we just get along?
Go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry.
No, it's just it shouldn't. I think part of loyalty is reciprocal. Mm-hmm. So I haven't gone down the blind loyalty hole yet. But if something's reciprocal, it's mutually beneficial for both. Am I loyal to my country? Well, yeah, that's beneficial to the country because I stand for the values that I grew up being taught, and I'm grateful for for all the crap that happens. You got to really be grateful for where we live compared to the rest of the world. So that's a little more abstract. Now, when you get into your tribe and you're loyal to your tribe, well, your loyalty takes into consideration what's in the best interest of the tribe. And there should be conversation, so everybody knows or everybody maintains those same values,
Right.
and somebody's not going off the reservation. But when you really shouldn't have to choose, I think, because, and I think we talked about this before, you need to surround yourself, your tribe should be a group of people that share the same values.
Absolutely.
So your loyalty, I almost believe that asking somebody to be disloyal to someone else is disloyal by itself. And maybe that person needs to be culled from the herd or the tribe. So this is a whole lot deeper conversation than I think we ever
intended
once we started to realize what loyalty is and what it stands for, and the fact that it is you are making a stand for something or someone that you believe in.
Well, you're talking about, when you looked up the definitions, one of them I found too is faithful to a cause, where loyalty lies. And I mean, that's, I guess, where you want to say it comes into the workplace and all the other scenarios we're talking about. I think loyalty, another quote that I wrote down, some people aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to their need of you. And once their needs change, so does their loyalty.
So I don't think that's real loyalty. Go ahead, Jamie.
Well, and I agree with that. And that we occasionally forget that proverb that talks about your friends for a season, friends for a reason, and then there's friends for life.
Right.
So why are you friends? What's the purpose of your relationship? And some of that comes into the loyalty.
So I wouldn't dare argue with you, Jamie. But so the reason, season, and life thing I've heard many times, and I'm sure we've all experienced it. Those relationships, those seasonal relationships, the boys of summer relationships,
True.
college relationships, childhood relationships, and don't get me wrong, some childhood relationships last or go through changes over many years, where you could be in and out of somebody's life. I think Ann and I are an example of that. But there was a mutual loyalty during that season, or during that reason, during that season, or during your life. And maybe the end of those mutually beneficial relationships don't necessarily reflect lack of loyalty. They
did their time.
Yeah, they
They
reflect.
served their time in your life at that time.
Correct. Thank you. See, now you're finishing my sentences.
And the ones that aren't loyal, they got to go.
Yeah.
They got to go. If you're not loyal, I try to be loyal to anybody that's in my tribe. It's one of those things, even where my children are concerned. Hurt my child, you hurt me. Well, if you hurt someone I love and care about, you're going to hear about it from me, because that's where my loyalty lies, with my close friends, with my significant other, with my children, and with, my family, the ones that are deserving, that are loyal to me. But you know what I'm talking about. The people that I really care about, I'm very loyal to them, and don't want to see anything bad happen to them. And I think that's where loyalty comes in as well. It's sort of a form of protection to the people we care about.
I think that
it's funny that you said, Anna, about if you aren't loyal to me or my children, then you need to go. How many times are we there for our family, or we're there for somebody that we have supported them through a trying time, difficult time, help them to surround themselves with better tribe members, and the same hasn't been reciprocated to us. And that's when you start doing your cleansing. You start cleansing the tribe, and it's due to their lack of loyalty.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, because I know I spoke about this a show or two ago when I went through my breast cancer treatment. And listen, don't get me wrong, I love my family. If ever they needed me to be there for something, I would be there. But as far as loyalty goes, there was a lot of resentment that I wasn't sick during my treatment, that I was still cooking and cleaning and acting like a normal person that didn't have cancer, that I was working, that I was going out. The lack of loyalty there went above and beyond. Now, they're still my family. Do I really talk to them? No, I don't. They made the choice, I think, long before I did, that they were very upset that I was going through it as normally as I could. And I think that's where you talk about family loyalty. Yeah, it doesn't mean you hate your family. It just means, and this is the whole point we talk about, Jamie, you and I, with the tribe. It doesn't mean if somebody's got to go, it doesn't mean you hate them or you'll never speak to them again. It means you're keeping that tribe around you very positive and selective in what's good for you and what they, how you work together. I think that's the big piece of it.
You're absolutely right when you said about family. You're absolutely right. Family, we didn't get to choose.
No.
They are there. We're born into them. We marry into them. It's where we are at. Mm-hmm. And we can choose how close we keep them, how loyal we are to them, how we communicate, trust, and respect them as well. It is not rude or inappropriate to change the level that person is in your tribal circle.
I agree.
A whole nother conversation for another day, but yeah, there are times when your children do things and you're like, you're not being loyal to me right now. You're not even being loyal to yourself. I don't know what you're being loyal to, but right now I need to remove you from being close to me until you can focus, get grounded again, and then I can bring you back in.
It's true because, I always say it's just like the mood in your house. I could be in the best mood of the day. If the kids are in a bad mood or Rob's in a bad mood, eventually that mood's coming on me, and they don't want to do that, really. You don't want to get me in a bad mood. I try to keep upbeat, but that's the whole thing with the tribe, too. If you've got too much negative around you, that is eventually going to hit you. And one point in your day or your week, all that negativity and bad stuff and disloyalty around you is going to catch up to you eventually, no matter how grounded you are. If there's too much, that's what's going to happen.
We all run into, and the children being disloyal thing or the family being disloyal goes back to, you shouldn't have, there shouldn't be a choice there. If you're at the point in your life where you have to choose between your family and something else, well, it went bad a long time ago. Because that just goes to your value system and the value system that has been instilled in you and has been instilled in your family. So your family, ideally, and there's a lot of dysfunctional families out there. I come from one. So that shouldn't be a choice. My brother should be right there by my side when I make a stand for somebody else, if we share the same value system. If you don't share the same value system, your family doesn't share the same value system, that could go back a generation or more. Mm-hmm. But moving past that, because we don't live in that, we live in a world where a lot of core values of community and family were left behind. So we still have to function, we still have to live, and we still surround ourselves, or we replace that family with the tribe. That's what the tribe is. And your tribe should share the same values that make you loyal. And that's pretty tricky.
It's very tricky, and I agree with Jamie when we're talking about family. And like I said, my feeling is whether they're loyal or not. The choice we have with family and loyalty is how much time we spend with them and to distance ourselves a little bit from them. Like I said, and Jamie said it, we didn't choose them as family. They're our family. We would expect everybody in a family to be loyal to a fault. And like Jonathan says, the world doesn't work that way anymore. Years ago, the family was the family. The values have changed a little bit. But I think with family, it's not ignoring them. For me, it's a choice that, okay, you feel that way about me. I respect that. It's not how I feel about you. But the distance has been okay. Do I miss them and the big family parties we used to have? Absolutely. But everybody grows up into the different type of people they want to be. And for the most part, they don't like my positivity. They don't like that I've gone through cancer in an upbeat way. They don't like all the things that have happened in my life that I still came out smiling on the other side. And, that's okay. I respect their feelings. I don't need to sit and, be talked about behind my back, which is where the loyalty was getting disrupted with my family in that way.
Well, and Jonathan, you were talking about your brother being loyal to you, and you're talking about the loyalty of your family. Where does that loyalty boundary break when, let's say, now you have a conflict between a sibling and a parent? Who are you loyal to at that point? At that point, you now have to look at your values, your core values, your morals, and evaluate where it is you need to lie. I know recently, very recently, not to throw this in there, but I have 3 weddings in my family within 6 months of each other. My son, myself, and my daughter. My son and daughter had planned their weddings, knew they were going to have their weddings. Me, I had put our wedding totally on the side. It was not a priority. We both have been married before, so we can wait 2 or 3 years. We'll get married eventually. It's okay. And then we were gifted a wedding. It has created conflict. And where does your loyalty lay? Does your loyalty lay with one of the children? Does your loyalty lay yourself? But there's lots of questions that you have to ask yourself when there are conflicts within your own family.
That's
and in this,
fun.
in all of this, I learned a new thing, and I think, Ann, you and I had talked about this, is some people like to borrow trouble.
Oh, the pot
There
stirs.
wasn't
I call them
trouble.
the pot
There wasn't
stirs.
a problem.
They stir the
They
pot.
didn't like one facet of it, whether it was jealousy or whatever. They didn't like one thing about it, and they decided to borrow trouble and create trouble temporarily to make your situation not a happy, joyful situation.
I don't know that that's a loyalty issue. In my then it goes back to your value system. So start with your grandparents, and then go to your parents, and then go to me because I'm the oldest in the family.
Of course, the oldest always get first.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was a bone of contention many years ago in my family. But the reality is the pecking order starts with the elder statesman in an ideal world. So I remember when my mother was ill, every one of my siblings, we all put aside our differences to take care of my mother. And I've seen it repeatedly in my family. We're real good at emergencies. We just suck at every day stuff. But I think, the lost art of loyalty drags, we kind of drag all this other stuff into it. But at the end of the day, keep it simple, loyalty is just a stand you make for something or someone. And you do that in a show of support. And it's a betrayal if you're disloyal to somebody who counted on your loyalty.
Well, I'm gonna step in there because I'm still thinking about what Jamie said, because when you're talking about loyalty, Jamie, you mentioned your kids, and the people that look for trouble. Everybody's got their own. Some people look at loyalty as, you didn't do what I wanted, you're not loyal. Sometimes it is the children. You're not doing what I want, or you're making something else more important. And I think that's where loyalty and priority go hand in hand. Right now, your priority is to get to this wedding on time in less than 2 weeks. And I'm sure your intention was never to make your children or any family members feel like you weren't being loyal. To them, that was their feeling. That's how they perceived it. And you can throw perception in with the whole loyalty conversation as well. It's how things are perceived, don't you think? I mean, loyalty could also be, I think everybody has a different definition of it and what's important in it. I can say to Jamie, it doesn't sound to me like you're being disloyal to anybody, but
You got to be loyal.
it doesn't.
Didn't we say you have to be loyal to yourself before you can be loyal to somebody else?
Oh, sure. Wait, hang on, Jamie. We have somebody on the phone.
Go ahead, Ann.
Hello, caller. Who we got on the line?
This is Rob. I wanted to speak with Ann Dennish.
Hi, Rob. Do you have something to talk about with loyalty today?
I do. I've been in situations before where loyalty has come up. People I've grown up with, kids that guys that we grew up as kids, and then into young adults. And you put, especially when you're younger, you put a lot of loyalty into them. You expect that they are going to be just as loyal as you are to them.
Right.
And a lot of times you end up getting burned that way. When you're younger, it's easier to do that. As you get older, I guess you learn, not to trust as much.
Or as easily or as quickly until someone earns it. Minimal trust till the rest is earned.
Right. And, and that goes with time. I guess with everything, it's like that. But, I've had experiences, even as I've gotten older, where I thought I could trust people and have gotten burned again, and it's a hard thing to swallow, especially when you put the trust into those people and you find out that they really were not loyal.
And how do you handle that? How'd you handle those people?
Well, I mean, for me, my first knee-jerk reaction would be to, retaliate. But that's not really a good thing to do. I mean, that just continues the cycle.
Right.
The best thing I think you can do is to, if those people are going to be that way, let them be that way, just not with me. I won't be in their lives anymore. They won't be in mine. And until, sometimes they can come around and say, oh, yeah, I was wrong, and maybe you could fix that. Most times people don't want to admit that they're wrong, especially when it comes to that.
And I think once that happens, you've lost the trust. When the loyalty's gone, there's very little trust. There's no trust left at all. And Jamie, you got any thoughts on this?
Oh, I totally agree. And I agree with Rob, how he had said that, you let people do that with somebody else. I don't need that energy. I don't need that pessimism around me. I choose to remain positive. I choose to use other people in my tribe to help me also remain positive. And you're not one of those right now. And there's always an opportunity, and you did say it earlier, there's always an opportunity for people to come back. There's different tiers of how we extend our olive branch out to people and how close we keep people to us. So I agree with all of that we just have to protect ourselves. And Jonathan, you had said earlier, loyalty has to come to loyalty to yourself first. I think I had said this before, and now I do apologize for quoting someone, and I can't remember her name. She wrote a book about death and dying, and she said, as a nurse who dealt with terminally ill, the number one regret of people is living the life that others expected them to live and not live the life that they wanted to live.
Exactly.
So be loyal to yourself. Ask yourself, what do I want? What am I getting out of this situation right here, right now? And what am I gaining from it? And how will it impact me 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, 50 years? And make your decision based on that, because at the end of the day, you lay your own head down on your own pillow.
That's right.
You're the one who, whatever higher power you think comes after your physical time here on earth is over, you have to live with all of those choices in everything you've made throughout your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I'm just that type of person. Once you've been disloyal to me or done something, I'll forgive you, not to your face unless you're really apologetic and sorry. But I'll let it go. Sure, we'll take another call. Hello, caller. Okay. Hello, caller. Hello.
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 Is this the lovely Ann Dennish?
Yes, it is. Who am I
This
speaking
is
with?
your cousin. This is your cousin.
Oh,
Hello.
okay. Well, which cousin?
I was just listening to the show and just love your show and just calling to say hello.
Oh, Dennis, is that you?
It is.
This is my lovely cousin, Dennis Hall, who was in the movie Green Book. Dennis is calling from L.A.
Hi, Dennis.
I just saw your show real quick. I just want to call and say hey. So proud of you.
Say hello.
Go back to what you're doing. I'm just calling in to say hey real quick.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Hi, Dennis. This is Jamie. Thank you for calling, and hopefully we'll get to meet you in LA in 2 weeks.
Give me a buzz. Hey, cuz, I love you so much.
I love you too. Thanks for calling, and I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dennis. Oh, that
Great.
was cool.
Appreciate it.
I was afraid, because that was not the family I was talking about with loyalty. So when he said it's your cousin, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you opened up Pandora's
Oh
box.
boy, I'm in trouble now. No, he's the good cousin. Oh gosh. Did we have somebody else on there? Okay. Okay. Well, that
Did
was.
we lose Rob, or did we?
No, I think Rob is still
No,
there.
no, I'm still here.
All right.
I'm still here. I was listening.
Well,
Uh,
I'm easy
yeah.
to
Like I
forgive
said, I was
people.
very intrigued about loyalty. I've been burned more than once, as a lot of people know. But I am learning. Even at my age, you still learn where you want to put your loyalty. Especially, it's happened with work. It's happened in my personal life. It's happened with my children, and it's happened with my family. And you have to evaluate each one, I think, and see exactly if they are able to come back in, or if you want them back in, or if you move on.
Don't you think sometimes, and Jamie, you can help me out with this one. I think sometimes once that's broken, it's better to move on. Wish them love and light and drop it. I mean, the damage is done. There's no trust anymore. They came for a certain amount of time. And sometimes when that happens, we see the true colors of the people we were very trusting to.
I agree. You guys are just summing it up really well. I don't have to say much.
I just think allowing them back in, people can change. I believe they can. But I think if I ever let anybody back into my life that was very disloyal and distrustful to me, I don't know that I could trust them again. And I'd be very guarded. And I don't want to be in relationships where I'm guarded or constantly, making sure I'm not getting burned or talked about behind my back by my closest friends and family.
You're right. No, you're right, because when you allow people, and I think, Jonathan, you had said this earlier, or maybe it was Rob, the caller, who said, I can let those people continue to do that, but they're not going to do it to me.
Right. Right.
You have to make that stand, and as uncomfortable as it may be, pointing out to them, I'm loyal to myself. And right now, the situation that I feel, and using I statements, I feel you have put me in, I need to remove myself from this temporarily until I can further feel comfortable.
I agree. I think that's where setting up the boundaries comes into play. And even, Rob, you mentioned loyalty at the workplace. You want to share an experience about that?
Well, I mean, in the past, a place where I've worked, I was the manager was also my friend, and we, I went in there thinking that, I had his back and he had my back, and I think it really ended up being that, he had my back for as long as it served him, but when it didn't, he didn't really have my back, and there's another place where you learn.
And that's a difficult situation, when
I made some changes. I made some changes so that I would be put in a better place in my workplace. I transferred, and it was a longer haul for me, but it was a better situation and made me a better, happier, better person outside of my work.
Well, and it's difficult,
so,
too.
That's another time where you live and learn.
Mm-hmm. And it's tough when the people around you see that going on, too. When somebody can say, I think you think they're loyal and they're not. It's a lesson we all have to learn on our own, and sometimes a very tough lesson. And that's where the whole priority thing comes in. When you're being loyal to one person, you kind of lose sight of where your priority really lies, and you start defending the wrong people and not the right ones. And I think that's a little bit of the loyalty thing as well. Jamie?
And I agree with that. You almost said what I was going to say, or some of it. So you got it.
We spent a lot of time defining loyalty, and it's funny how many different opinions we have. We're kind of on the same page, but we have a lot in common, which is why we're together having these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, you had mentioned in your workplace, you changed your workplace, you changed the work environment because of the loyalty and basically the dissatisfaction you were getting from wanting to do your job. Do you work to live or do you live to work? So you, as a mature man and as an adult with life experiences, knew to move yourself out of that situation. A 16-year-old or maybe even a 26-year-old would not do that.
Right.
They don't have the experience or the mindset.
Right, that's true. And to be honest, I didn't initially actually even see the disloyalty. Until I was out of it, I really didn't see it that much. I was told that it was being that way from somebody looking from the outside. And I would be mad at them for telling me that because I didn't want to be fooled. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be, what I thought it was. So it took me a while to catch on to that. It really did. And in the meantime, it was very detrimental to me, physically and mentally. And I didn't see that because I was living it and I was in it. And a lot of times, people don't see it when they are deep in it. They need somebody else to say, and that other person says it in a risk to them because they may not like, I may not like what they're saying to me at that time. And then there's a repercussion for that. Even though they're looking out for my best interest, I don't realize that. I put up the defense because I don't want to be the guy again that says, oh yeah, I put myself in another situation where I trusted somebody and I was wrong. So you really have to take the time to do it. Now that I'm out of that, I've been out of that situation for quite a while. I'm still in the same company, but I'm in a different environment now, a different place. And it is 10 times better for me. And I see the difference in me. And of course everybody around me sees the difference in me too. You know, I'm not all stressed out. I'm not short. I'm not, sick all the time. And that makes the difference. And if you can do that, a lot of times people don't see that. Because like I said, they're in it. It's very hard to see it when you're that deep in the situation.
And let me ask you this.
Now that I agree. That I totally agree. It's very hard to remove ourselves and step outside of a situation and analyze it until we're ready. I mean, that's where meditation or going out and taking a step away from a situation by whatever helps you recalibrate yourself, whether it's chopping wood, listening to music, going for a bike ride, driving out in the country, going for a walk, dancing, whatever it is. And when you're able to do that, recalibrate yourself and say, hey, why am I feeling this frustration? Why am I not happy? Then you're able to analyze. So I agree with that there. Sorry, Ann, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, that was okay. No, it was great. I think it's true. It's always, like I say, everybody's handed situations for their life lesson. It is hard when you're a person on the outside watching someone you care about or love be used, be taken advantage of, be taken for granted. And, I've been in that situation myself watching someone, and it's frustrating because when you do say something, it isn't taken well. It's taken as an attack on their good friend or their boss or their family or something else. And then when it comes out, yeah, it's a very reflective time, but that person going through it has to learn their lesson. You can't tell someone, you can say, I just don't like how he treats you. You're messing with their free will if you say, this is what you need to do. You need to leave here. You need to stop talking to him. You need to do that. And I think that's what happened. We have another caller, Jamie. Hang on one second, Rob. Okay. Hello, caller. Say hello. Who am I talking to?
Hello?
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 Hello, are you there?
We can hear you.
Yeah? Where's Jerry? Hello?
Jerry's not on today.
Oh, she called me. Okay. All right, thank you.
We're talking about loyalty. Do you have anything to add about loyalty?
Always be loyal.
All right, you can't go wrong.
Alrighty, well, thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Bye.
So a couple things. We've been time is flying by as usual. We're 46 minutes in already, and we've had some new support for the show, and people calling into Hamilton Radio. We really appreciate it. We just wanted to mention quickly that a local church here, this is Robbinsville, correct? Has some medical equipment and some clothing available for those in need. And you need to call a woman, Cheryl Schaefer, at 609-706-8505. These are necessary things for people who can use them. They're not for sale. They're a gift. You just need to make arrangements to come and get them. Is that right, Gene?
Yeah.
Okay. We also have joining us or listening today is a good friend, somebody I've known for a really long time, Brett Lamone, who has a business opportunity. You can get more information from her at her Facebook page or Instagram page at Simply Go Pure. It's a healthy lifestyle. It's not just plant-based nutrition, but it is a healthier lifestyle. So we appreciate her helping spread the word about living your best life, and we wanted to give her a shout out.
Hi, Brett.
Also.
Thanks for supporting the show as well. Well, I think the whole loyalty thing. Rob, are you still there?
I am. Yeah.
So what ended up happening? Have you heard from this boss slash friend in a long time, or?
Not since I shifted over. No.
Okay.
No, not really. In passing sometimes. Because we do still work for the same company.
Mm-hmm.
But not like it was. That's for sure.
Well, that sounds like a good choice you made there.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think, and I feel a lot better now in the situation I'm at. Except for me, I had to travel a lot more up until recently. We just moved our office closer to my house, but it was a little bit more of a sacrifice in that way. But it was so worth it because what I moved into was somebody who is loyal. You know what I mean? Somebody that does look out, and
Well, you're
and
very
it
lucky.
does make a big difference. And I think that makes a big difference in any relationship, whether it be friendship, family, love. You got to have that loyalty. You got to have a trust, which that all ties together, trust and loyalty. And then that makes the difference.
It absolutely does. I think everybody, where loyalty is concerned, I think it's good to be on the same page with all of that for all of us.
Think about what are the consequences of being disloyal, right? Anytime loyalty comes up in a conversation, it kind of should, in most relationships, it should be a given. It almost seems like if if there's a question of loyalty, there's an underlying
How y'all
problem.
doing out there? Doc, driving?
And I think that's what, living your best life involves trying to be better at everything. Nobody's perfect.
I was just going to say, living your best life is not being perfect. It's living the best life
That you
for
can.
you, for that you can.
So we all fall short all the time. Nobody's perfect. But you want to be as close to perfect in your desire to be a good person. Being a good person involves respect, communication, trust, Jamie. It involves
Boy, you're learning this so well. I'm loving it.
Isn't it great?
you're
You know what I'd hate to say, a man who listens.
yeah, right?
I know, right?
And he's listening.
Sorry, I'm
because he
getting
brings-
married in a week and a half. Otherwise, I'd love to have you listen to me all the time.
Oh God.
I think it's a balance of all those things. I think it's a balance of the loyalty, the trust, the respect, compassion, and I think it goes in friendships, relationships, workplace,
You want to be endeavor to be a better person every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting back to, we bring up these, I don't bring them up, Ann brings them up. I just come to play. But, we talk about relationships, we talk about loyalty, we talk about celebrating life. And it's not to point out the bad. You need to talk about the bad in order to get better. You have to recognize what the problem is. And what we talk about in living your best life is how do we turn these negative things into positive things. There's some negative things that you're not going to be able to do anything about.
Absolutely.
Except leave them behind.
Right. That's true.
You don't want to forget them, because if you forget them, history is going to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm. Life lessons.
Which happens around us all the time. People either forget or they don't want to be accountable, and they walk right into the same trap all over again. The lost art of loyalty is something we want to talk about and think about so we can become better neighbors, better husbands, better fathers, better wives, better boyfriends, girlfriends.
Employers, bosses, everything.
It's an attempt, at least for us, it's an attempt to make the world a better place.
And I think the whole thing with this show, talking about the lost art of loyalty, what happened to it, I think by all of us talking about it, we've made awareness to anybody listening to this show that they might be saying, where is the loyalty at my job? Or where is the loyalty with this one friend of mine that I'm not so sure what they've been, if they're talking about me or breaking a trust. I think that's how you get the loyalty back in this world. I really think it's just giving people a thought. Sometimes it's one question. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I drove a lot of people insane when I said to them, what's loyalty to you? No one could answer. No one could answer. I just think, it's knowing the truth of yourself. Everything begins with you. You need to know yourself first and foremost. And then I think it makes it easier to see the people in your tribe when you know yourself. And you have to see the truth in the other people.
Patience.
Patience is a virtue, yes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, we hear that all so often, don't we?
But
Yes.
it's all easy to say. It's easy to say, right? And nobody's going to argue. Oh, you're so patient. You're just a bad person. You're so patient. That doesn't make any sense. But are you really patient? So, we talk about communication, respect, and trust, but I'm sitting next to the 24-hour word girl. And, we've had this conversation. I'm more of the 24-second person. I'm working on being a 24-minute person. But the point is, by being patient and taking a little time and being careful how you choose your words, you protect your tribe. You remain loyal to your tribe because you didn't act. You responded. You like that one, Jamie?
I was just going to say, instead of reacting, responding. Yeah. Boy.
Wow. And
This is impressive.
He doesn't even have a notebook
the last
here.
few weeks, he's just all ears. He is actively listening and actively participating.
And he's not taking
You know,
notes.
Jonathan, any woman who lets you go, wow, made a mistake.
And there's a plug today.
Yeah, right. Well, she probably let me go.
Oh, was it?
I didn't do any of those things that I talk about.
Well, and I agree. First be loyal to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you live with yourself.
Right.
You live with who you are. You are the only person who puts your head on your pillow and skin. And so the first loyalty is with yourself. And then what you have made up of yourself by all your past experiences and who you are at that moment with the decision that you have to make and the morals and values that you were raised with and you embrace is what allows you to be loyal with who you're loyal to.
I agree. I think the loyalty, it's like the chain of command. Loyal to yourself first. You're loyal to the people you live with, the relationships you're in, your friendships. I think
it's funny. I think loyalty to yourself is probably the hardest one.
Yeah, because
I agree.
Yeah, because that entails, setting up boundaries, saying no when somebody doesn't want you to say no.
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection, yes. It can be hard.
It's not that hard. We're just human and we make it hard. Really. I mean, this is a pretty easy conversation.
Well, that's
true. And the things, I don't think anybody disagrees with anybody else, whether they're listening or not. It's how we use what we learn in our conversations, in our communication with one another that helps us improve, not just self-improvement, but we're improving our lives and the lives of those around us. And your life becomes more satisfying. And you think about the things that, like we're talking about being disloyal, right? Disloyal is a pretty egregious thing if you're the offender or the one offended. But if we maintain loyalty by being considerate, it's not such a hard line drawn in the sand. But once you cross that line, it's pretty hard to go back, if not impossible. But you need to be a little more patient. You need to listen a little more. And you got to understand the stand that you're taking to be loyal and whether that person is worth your loyalty. And that's a hard judgment call to make, because we may not be on the same page, which goes back to that communication thing. You know, whoever it is, you want to communicate what your expectation is and not assume it. And you can't assume loyalty, because loyalty may not have the same meaning to you
For the other person either.
than it does the other person. It doesn't mean that doesn't have to be an intimate relation. That's any relationship. It just one relationship might be more important. It's easy to walk away from some relationships. It's not as easy to walk away from others. So that's why it's worth putting the thought into and having these conversations.
I think the bottom line with loyalty is you have my back, I have yours, and
Yep.
you stick to it. And in the workplace, it's a little difficult. And I think where it comes to, you each have each other's back, but then that's where the priority level comes in. What is your priority? Is your priority your boss at work, like Rob was talking about? Is your priority, okay, we got another caller? Or is the priority your family, and friendships? And we have another caller. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I was wondering if you could help me out. My name is Gary Levine, and I'm trying to track down a distant cousin of mine named Bess Godin, Goden. Do you know that name by chance?
No, none of us do. Sorry.
Is this Paranormal Encyclopedia or?
No.
No, you've reached a radio show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was actually interviewed on. She was known as Steampunk Bess. She was a special guest. I'm looking at a YouTube video.
No.
And there were two guys.
Call
there were
tonight.
Two guys. One guy.
Call tonight at
What's that?
6:30, Doc. 6:30 tonight. Call this number back, because right now you're live on Living Your Best Life.
Okay, fair. So call back at 6:30
Yes.
tonight.
6:30
Okay,
Eastern
yeah.
Standard Time.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Well, I guess that could lead into our wrap-up, right?
I guess so. So bottom line, you've got my take on loyalty. I have your back. You have mine. And my priority always is my family, my friends, my children. And that will always be my priority, where my loyalty lies. Jamie?
I would have to say that, again, just like you had said, you got to be loyal to yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think loyalty after that really goes down to the morals and values that live within you, because sometimes your own children and your own family can do something that doesn't show loyalty to you or loyalty to themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think any of us or all of us should be slower to be offended. Take a little more time to think about the people around us and where they're coming from, and don't be too quick to judge. A lot of what we talk about requires us, it seems, to be a little judgmental, and we really should be careful how we judge one another, like I said, you have to be a little self-protective. So there's a little, you need to be a good judge of evaluating somebody's character and their values and where they're coming from. But until you really know somebody, you got to be really slow. Try to be more patient, and realize that the conversation is about making the world better and living your best life. And that's probably where I would like to leave it on a positive note. Ann's going to be somewhere on Saturday.
Yeah, I was before I go into that, Doc, I'm getting ready. Rob, did you have any closing thoughts before I start to close out my show here?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you letting me speak my mind, and wish you all the luck with your radio.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for taking the time to call in and share your perspective and experiences with that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this Saturday, I will be at the Princeton Public Library at Local Author Day. I will be there selling and signing my 2 books from 1:30 to 3:30. So stop on by. I will be there with Gen Z Publishing and fellow authors George Bucheri of the Revolution Store in Freehold, Marissa Schwartz, owner of Gen Z Publishing. So stop by. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Jamie, thanks so much for calling and being here today. You two are like my dynamic duo. You two are the dynamic duo, Jamie and Jonathan.
Well, you guys have a blessed and wonderful day, and thank you for letting me be a part of all of this. We are a unique tribe, and go out and enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you. You too, the same, Jamie. Jonathan, as always, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you here. So we'll see you all next week. Have a great day. I'm wishing you lots of love, light, and dreams come true. And we're going to close out the show. Doc's going to put on a little song I wrote called The Truth Seeker, because we've got to know the truth in life. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
See you, Jamie.